Hey guys, welcome into another episode of From the Wing. I'm Christian Clark, the Pelicans beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. The New Orleans Pelicans are doing a lot better than the first few times we've checked in so far in the season. Only 14 games old, but I feel like there's already been a couple of hairpin turns. An important 8-game stretch, or 8-day stretch, I should say, for the Pelicans. November 12th, they get the crap kicked out of them by the Dallas Mavericks. Their fifth straight loss. Bunch of guys out. Zion and BI don't look like they're gelling. Pelicans have won 3 of their last 4 games. Those wins over top teams in the Western Conference, the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Kings, trounced the Kings on Monday. Their only loss was to the Timberwolves, basically on a shot in the last seconds by Karl Anthony Towns. No Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson, who played great Monday against the Kings, 18 in the second quarter, said this after they beat Sacramento. We weren't on the same page before. Now we're all on the same page. We had a team meeting. We talked about what we wanted to do as a unit. That's what we are going to live and die with. Since we're all on the same page, I think we've been gelling together a lot better. What was said in that team meeting, Adam McCurry?
I've been hypothesizing for days, and I've got nothing. I think I'm like grasping at context clues. Like Najee and Jose have all done some like a little bit of media availability around like their returns before and after they've returned, and there's been like little hints that everyone else gets what they're supposed to be. Like there's hints essentially that guys 3 through 13 really see the potential in all this and really understand their role. And they're all just looking at the top 2 guys, throwing up middle fingers like, you guys have to get us there.
That's
And
really interesting. That's very interesting. I'm saving some of the Jose stuff, but I kind of picked up some of those vibes in listening to Jose talk after that game. But continue. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah, it just like we're all the fans are grasping at straws trying to figure out like what the hell happened. It's the one thing I'm obsessing over because we completely turned over the first portion of the season, first 6 games. The offense is a mess. Defense is okay, but the offense is a mess. The only reason they're winning games is because CJ is playing perfect basketball, Herb is Herb, and Dyson is looking more under control than he ever has. That's really, those are the only, and JV looked solid as ever. That's the ties of the first 6 games. But everything that featured BI and Zion was messy. Like Zion would get on a heater for certain quarters, and he can do that with or without an offensive system. You know, sometimes he can be the system. But he was just kind of doing his own thing sometimes, and a thing we've seen before, like throw him the ball, run into a wall of 4 dudes, try and finish through it anyway, don't finish. And he looked out of shape and he struggled with finishing and it's been highlighted by quite a lot of people that this is about the worst he's finished like points per possession on his rim attempts ever, which it's coming back. And if the Kings game was any evidence, it's not gone. But yeah, we've all been reaching. And I think the only thing that sticks out to me is like, you think of who would do it. And like, I just don't expect that Willie would have brought the fire and brimstone necessary. I don't think anybody else in the coaching staff has the wherewithal. So then you're like, who would have done something? And the only thing I can come up with, I know who like would, but who's in a position to do something. I feel like BI's lieutenants have to be the answer because you hear some of what they're saying. And like Jose is saying like, you know, even before he returns, he's talking about how, you know, they really believe in what we have here. And when he comes back, he needs to play in his role. And, you know, he's looking like he was already saying the coach stuff about how Zion and BI need to fit together when he wasn't even playing with them yet. He was already saying that we go as far as they take us stuff. And that's a lot of buy-in for a backup point guard to have. So yeah, I've just decided that there was like some sort of like role player mutiny where they just like pointed at the 2 stars and were like, y'all better get this stuff together or we're all screwed. And in whatever it was, it worked.
I am not a big fan of political extremists. I dislike people maybe on the far right as much as I dislike people on the very far left. I think in general we have a lot more in common, and just common sense prevails most of the time. I'm also not a fan of Pelicans extremists. I think coming into the season, we were saying there's a wide range of outcomes for this team. We could see it going either way. I was not a fan of people on the timeline early in the season who were, I guess, doomsdayers. Like I think there's a difference between doomsdayers and realists, and just saying there's no way this can ever get back on track. Like, this and that. And I don't like the soccer mom sunshine pumpers either. I think what we've seen in these 14 games is this team had some real issues. Like there was real stuff. And we know it was real because Zion said we had a team meeting, and like it sounded like it was actually some stuff said. They had a team meeting after the awful loss to Dallas, and they've kind of looked like the team we were optimistic maybe they could be these last 4 games. I mean, here's what I'll say about this team and what I've been saying for a long time now. This team has talent, man. There is talent on this team, like a lot of wings, versatility. They've continued to add shooting. I think 3 through 14, because they haven't filled out that 15 spot, and the two-way guys too. This is, there's probably like a strong argument that this is the most talent a Hornets or Pelicans roster has ever had, 3 through 14. And then I guess, two-way players is a relatively new invention, but like, I feel good about all that stuff. What I've said for a while and what I continue to feel is this team needs its 2 stars to be stars. And if they are stars in the way that they should be and come close to maximizing their potential, this team could go to the playoffs and win a round or 2, or maybe even further.
Yeah, it to give people like an understanding. So we talked about on a recent pod like how bad it was. I had a stat for like how many ISOs BI and Zion were falling into, their turnover percentage on those, and essentially it was terrible. They were both in the top 15 of ISO possessions. You expect them to be pretty high. You expect Zion to be about as high as it gets. So he's still way up there, but their turnover frequency was incredibly, incredibly high. BI was like 9th. Zion was 13th. It just in the last 4 games, BI is down to like 27th in ISO frequency, which is a great sign for him. It just matches what you're seeing on the court. Essentially what we've seen for the last 4 games, you have seen the defense continue to be the defense, but you've seen just absolute deliberate concepts on offense from the start of the game to the end. And they're still having some struggles. I think my favorite part about these 4 games, there are still problems. There are still things to work through. There's plenty to coach out. They're still turning the ball over a ton. It's leading to a lot of opponents' points. That stuff still has to get cleaned up. They struggle when a defense changes scheme on them, especially coming out of the second half. They've struggled when the team doesn't show zone and then all of a sudden they throw zone at them, or, start of the fourth quarter when Minnesota started really, really hedging high. They didn't know what to do with it. They really struggled to get the ball into other guys' hands to move the ball forward. There's still stuff there, but they're moving fluidly. Like Brandon, Zion, everybody. Zion is passing more. Brandon is just moving the ball more and taking it where he gets it.
And not playing so slow. He's just playing faster. Like it doesn't look like it's, half speed anymore, which it did for the first 10 games of the season and was just extremely damaging to the offense.
And you know who is benefiting that? I'm shocked that is benefiting by the speed of play. JV. JV looks the most mobile I have ever seen him in his entire career during this little stretch. It is wild. He's blocking everything under the sun, and he's getting a lot of early touches. Like if he has a mismatch, these last 4 games, if he has a mismatch down low or he gets under the rim, gets position early, the ball goes in his hands. Whether it finishes through him or not, they're playing mismatches early in clocks. They're moving the ball really, really fast once they cross the half court. And it's consistent. It's been throughout the entire game. Like even that Minnesota game, they've been depleted. They're missing guys. BI's kind of playing by himself as a star out there against Minnesota. And, at the end, I think what you see at the end, I don't see it as this big systemic failure or like a coaching failure at the end of the Minnesota game. I see one guy that you trust to have the ball in his hand late to generate a shot of his own making, and he didn't have anywhere else to go. And so they just threw everything they had at him defensively, and it was hard for him. It was just hell for BI. But do I want Dyson or Herb in an ISO situation necessarily? Do I want JV with the ball in his hands 5 feet above the 3-point arc? No. So, they threw hell at BI and it worked. But just generally, like, everybody fitting in where they get in. But the biggest thing is, like, it's eye-popping how different the offense is relative to the first 10 games and the last 4. It is a complete departure. And, I was moving towards the doomsdayers, and now I'm, moving toward the sunshine pumpers.
One of the things that has helped the Pelicans turn their season around, a big thing, is they went to this new starting lineup in the second Dallas game of Dyson Daniels, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Jonas Valanciunas. Pelicans are undefeated, 3-0 with that starting lineup. Zion, of course, did not play against Minnesota. The numbers are pretty incredible. Plus 20 in 13 minutes against Sacramento, a plus 37 in 42 minutes. Look, it is a little inflated by 3-point shooting, but I think why it's been so good is the Pelicans are getting stops, generating a ton of turnovers, wreaking hell on fast break opportunities, which is what they want to do. That's like one of the things that Willie Green always talks about. It's like, we want to turn our stops into scores. Pelicans have a lot of good transition players. Like, it kind of starts with Dyson and Herb being monsters at the point of attack. Zion even kind of got in on the action against Sacramento. They're just huge. Like, Zion is the shortest player in that starting lineup. Think about that. Dyson and Herb are both listed at 6'7". Zion is listed at 6'6" on like the Pelicans official roster guide or whatever. Like, Zion Williamson is the shortest player in a starting lineup. I don't know what their wingspans are, but like, I would imagine that Zion has the shortest wingspan of those 5 starters too, which is pretty crazy to think about. Being big is a huge advantage in basketball. Breaking news. It's played a huge role in the Pelicans draft strategy. I'll tell you that. Like, if you guys read that story that Kevin O'Connor did with Calvin Booth, and Calvin Booth's like, I really care about these 4 things. Size is one of them. If you like look at all the NBA champs, they all have, like, they're all pretty big. Size is extremely important to New Orleans Pelicans front office. Like, I think they love Jordan Hawkins, but like, I think they're a little hesitant because they're like, is he just too small? Size is extremely important to them. They prioritized, kind of these big switchy wing types, and they're starting a lot of them together right now. And it's really working. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
I think the thing that was scary, we talked about this too. The thing that was scary was when you throw Dyson into that starting lineup, what's going to happen to the offense? Is having him, Herb, and JV on the floor at the same time with BI and Zion, is that just too little shooting? And what's happened instead is defense has been so good and they've been so versatile in their touches and how quickly they've moved the ball that it has not mattered. And when Herb and Dyson are asked to shoot the ball, they do. And over the course of the last 4 games, they've made a lot of them. So they've gotten a little bit more respect, but they're making them because they're left 6 feet open. Like, you rotate the ball 4 times and Dyson is just standing at the wing left open by 8 feet, and he takes it and it goes down. And even if they don't, there's been no fear in those attempts. So you're living with that if that works. But defensively, it has been destructive. It has been absolutely destructive to have those 2 on the floor at the same time. I think this was a thing we were going to want to experiment with this year, either way. And we got forced into it, and it turned up aces against the top of the West, which is a wild way to test it out. But the plus minus, the net rating in general, like, this team in the last 4 games, top 5 in net rating, top 5 in effective field goal percentage, top 5 in true shooting percentage, top 5 in assist percentage, top 5 in assist to turnover, number 1 in assist ratio, top 10. And this is a huge one. This is, you want to hear that your stars bought in and your stars are playing differently. You know where they improved? They're top 10 in rebound percentage. Their defensive rebounding over the course of the last 4 games has been in the top 10 of the league, and they got their offensive rebounding up to about the middle of the pack. They're not going to get that much better than that without, they don't have this pile of, 6'10" guys out there. And it's not a bunch of really like hefty dudes that can really, really control space and grab you 18 rebounds. JV's doing a hell of a lot of work, clearly, especially with his like 7 assists yesterday. But Brandon and Zion are rebounding. They're consistently rebounding. And for while I don't look at rebounding and go, oh, that's the thing I need to have. I think it can get some guys overrated. There's, you have a Vando and a Josh Hart that they get elevated, and it's mainly because like they do have this consistent rebounding. But that number in and of itself doesn't mean a lot. It does mean a lot to me when my stars weren't doing it and now they are. And what's happening is the ball is moving as soon as they touch it.
Yeah, and I think like Dyson and Herb, they're both guys who naturally move without the ball. They're both guys who are naturally quick decision makers. I just think it's helped the overall flow getting both of them in there. And I think both of them have improved on the offensive end too. I mean, Dyson has clearly taken a step from his rookie year. I mean, by the end of last season, he just had no confidence on the offensive end. And I think it was clear. It was very clear during his rookie season. This guy is a special defender. He just needs to become a little bit better on the offensive end. And that's what we're seeing right now. And he looks like he's going to be a player to me. Herb Jones. I mean, look, I don't need to tell you guys anything defensively about him. I agree with Zion's assessment that he has been better on defense this year than he was even in the years past, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I mean, like Herb Jones is, he's taking that three confidently. I've never seen him look this confidently from behind the arc. He's got a little bit of 3-point celebration now, which is kind of funny to see. He's like loading up the hand cannon, I guess. Um, but yeah, man, these guys play fast. They love to run and they just know how to play. Like they're just smart players. One of my biggest pet peeves in basketball is like guys who just don't know how to move without the ball or fill the space. Like I just hate stupid players. And like Herb and Dyson are just smart players. Like they're going to be in the right spots. Like they might have certain limitations offensively, but they're just smart basketball players.
So you're not ready to capitalize on Herb's value and maximize the asset and go out and get a big fish.
I'm ready to give him a key to the city of New Orleans and elect him mayor after Latoya
I
Cantrell.
you and me both. Look, I think we talked about Herb a lot coming into the end of the season, and I think it meant a lot to me that he got through one of the worst shooting slumps I've seen last year, and then finished really, really strong as a shooter for the end of last season after going through like 3 months of just like terribly broken down shooting mechanics. Like he just had the yips in a major, major messed up way, and he worked his way through it and finished strong. Him and JV are both in the top 15 in the NBA in block percentage. Herb Jones is 6'7". Herb Jones might have, I think he probably does have the most 3-point attempt blocks in the NBA. That's absurd. Like the idea that we're sitting here talking about an even better defensive showing from Herb Jones with offensive improvement. What am I doing? Oh, look, I'm sitting here trying to figure out who the hell's going to play the games 3 weeks ago. And now I'm sitting here like, we're going to have Matt Ryan, DNP-CD. We're going to have like not a lot of Jose minutes to go around. Like, does Larry get back on the court? Kyra's done. Like, I have guys, I don't even know how I'm going to get them on the floor. Like Jordan Hawkins might play 12 minutes. This is great.
Yeah, I don't even think we should do that game of like how do you distribute minutes when everyone is healthy, because it's just like it's almost just like live in the present with this team, because you.
Well, yeah, I mean, true. You never know when the gargantuan, colossal injury bug shows back up. Don't count anything before it's hatched. But at the same time, like it's just the idea that like the cupboard felt like pretty bare and had hatchet marks in the door, and now all of a sudden you're looking at the return of guys like CJ's back at practice today. Obviously, he still has a little bit to go before we're gonna see him out on the floor, but he's practicing, so he's coming back. Trey is looming. Trey, we just saw two like 40% catch and shoot 3-point guys, and one of them like there's not going to be enough minutes for those two guys to get on the floor regularly because Trey's going to come back and he's immediately going to get his 28, 30 minutes back. It's great. There's no pressure. Like there's no pressure to throw something back out there, to try something new. Like something's working right now, keep working with it, and phase guys back in and see where it goes. Just We went from a real shit time to just a pleasant time, just like that.
So a couple more notes on the Sacramento game. We talked about the Pelicans duo kind of at the point of attack in terms of defense. Dyson Daniels was the guy who guarded De'Aaron Fox for most of the Sacramento game, which I thought was interesting. It's like that's how good Dyson Daniels already is at defense at 20 years old. He can tell one of the NBA's, five best like point of attack defenders, like, yeah, I'll just take their best guy tonight. Like you go get Herter and then you pick up Fox when I'm not here. Um, I don't know, man. Dyson Daniels, like, I just can't say enough good things about him defensively. I really do think he is a special on ball defender. Like the way he stays in front and doesn't get turned around and can like use his length to contest without fouling, I think really is a special gift. I mean, I think it's nicer to have Dyson on the ball and Herb kind of like off the ball, wreaking a little bit of havoc. I like having that. Like there was a play in the third quarter where Fox tried to go like around two screens by Sabonis, and Dyson did a really nice job of evading it. And then Herb came over and helped and just knocked the ball away from Fox. And I was just like, chef's kiss, chef's kiss. This is just some beautiful defense from two freaks. But yeah, man. I mean, Dyson is like, I don't know, man. Like how much of a difference between Herb and Dyson do you think there is in terms of just strictly on ball defense right now?
Not a whole lot, clearly, because we're willing to put Herb on the secondary guy. We're willing to have Herb as the safety, the guy that's going to clean it up or going to switch on to the guy. We're giving Dyson the point of attack on Luka. We're giving Dyson the point of attack on De'Aaron Fox. There's another play flying around on Twitter last night and today where ball goes out to the right corner, gets thrown around the horn of De'Aaron Fox. You have Dyson shading toward the corner, like preparing for help as the ball gets kicked out. He's about 10 feet away from De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is already floating toward the middle when he gets the ball. Dyson not only gets back in front of him and closes out really, really fast, but then De'Aaron takes a little sidestep, goes to that left. He's the fastest guard in the NBA, period. His dominant hand is his left hand, period. It's one of the most devastating offensive attacks in the NBA currently. Dyson stopped him without using his hands. Dyson just jumps, sees it coming before he even takes the step. Dyson jumps his body to the right and takes it away with his hips. And De'Aaron stops, steps back, shoots a three, clunks it. That's not the kind of stuff that a lot of people are going to get super hyped about. And, that's not going to be the thing that they play on the reel on ESPN and the highlights. That's not what sells. But like, take those little moments, give yourself a couple of minutes to just watch Dyson run around and see how much ground he covers and how quickly he closes space. To have him and Herb not just be survivable offensively, but be viable offensively. And look, this is a small sample and we still need to see like what happens. Is this real? Is it going to continue? But the numbers have been eye-popping. It's been viable to have both of those guys. Like these are two top perimeter defenders, two top movement defenders. And they're coexisting at the same time on the floor together with your two star players. You could not ask for more.
I would imagine that Willie Green has seen enough at this point to continue rolling with Dice, Herb, BI, Zion, and JV until CJ McCollum is back. Like, how real do you think this is? Like, how much do you believe in this lineup? I mean, how much regression do you think is in store maybe for them?
I mean, Dyson's shot looks a lot better. So it comes down to do I believe these people's skills got better? Herb's shot has looked like it has been improving since April of last year. It looked good in the preseason. It has looked good to start the year. The confidence from both of them is both clearly improved. Dyson's shot mechanics look a lot better too. Like he's got a lot more load up. The thing that's going to come that I think could change things if Dyson's not getting these like 6 and 8 foot wide open looks and he's shooting through contests and he doesn't have all this time to load up, that 3-point ball could get tough. I think that's something that's still out there. It's still a lot of load time. It's not exactly a high release. It's not a fast release. It's kind of out in front of his face. he's loading his legs, rising up, and he's bringing the ball all the way up, and then he releases from like a little bit above his forehead. It's not exactly what you would want him to be doing. But right now, he's shooting in an open field, and they're going in, as often as they need to be. So that's probably the one thing. And also just like, do BI and Zion continue to buy into this level and move the ball at this level? If they do, if the ball moves this fast, you could throw anybody out there and I will believe it will work with those two. But they have to continue to move the ball like this. It cannot be the slog of take your turn ISO ball again. It can't go back to that.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, there's a lot of ways this could work. Like when CJ comes back, like I think about how he was playing perfect complementary basketball in the first 6 games. I was already seeing like, ooh, that's the elite third guy. And he could potentially come back into this if they keep playing this way. Just don't let it go.
Let's talk about Jose Alvarado's return. Jose hadn't played since the end of February. It'd been almost 9 months since we saw him back in the lineup. He was just giddy to be back there. At shoot around, we got to talk to him. I was like, "You playing tonight?" And he hit us with like the Michael Jordan facts. "I'm back." He just kept saying, "I'm back." He looked a little bit nervous to me in the first half, which is understandable. I mean, a little bit rusty, a couple turnovers, and then settled in a little bit in the second half. One of the notes I wrote down, and not to be too much of a Debbie Downer, but I was like, him and Jordan Hawkins, like they just look kind of small out there. So I'm just filing that one away. But overall, man, it was great to have Jose back. I loved his reaction when he hit that floater there. He kind of like looked up to the heavens, was like, "Yes, thank you. I'm back." He mentioned after the game that it was actually the anniversary of his grandmother's death. I think him and his grandmother is pretty close. So that was, I think a cool moment for him. Um, and another note I had too is like, I think weirdly, Jose is one of the few players on the roster who like really vibes with Zion. Like Jose can just kind of, it seems like he can just get along with anybody, right? And like, it seems like he can kind of vibe with Zion. Like I think their games make a lot of sense together on the court, actually. And it seems like they're, like kind of get along off the court too. Like I think Jose is one of the guys that Zion really respects.
Yeah, I think Jose is a get along. Do you think he meant to? You think that floater was like really intentional, or you think he threw it up? It looked a little wild to me.
Hmm.
It looked a little like he tossed it up, and I was like, was that a lob or was that a shot? Because it was a pretty wild angle, pretty far out, and it went down, and he looked excited, like he was surprised, and I was just like, how intentional was this? But he had his 3 and everything, and look, you got to shake the rust off. I don't need a Karl Anthony Towns on my team where like nobody really gets along with the dude. And we've been asking questions for years of like, who is Zion's friend in the NBA? Who is Zion's friend on this team? I need him to vibe with people. I need people to create that glue, that interstitial stuff to make this dude really believe that the team can do this. I think a lot of the difficulty, like it I'm going to draw a weird philosophical comparison here, but it's really, really hard to convince anybody, like, and this could be anything from like people with health challenges to a basketball team. What we're trying to get the team to buy into and the stars to buy into is, if I give this ball up early, then someone is going to get a great attempt, and that somebody might just be me in 5 seconds from now, but I have to give it up if that's going to work. And it may be that you give it up 5 times and you don't see it those 5 times, and it goes in for somebody else. And that needs to be okay, because that 6th time when you touch it, you're going to have more space to operate and you're going to make a bucket. And if you buy in that that's going to happen for you, then it's going to happen for everybody. And it's happened for 4 games. It's like the same thing as asking somebody like, hey, if you go put in this time, go put in this cardio, go hit the gym. If you invest for a month, you're going to see results. You're not going to see them right away. But when you do, you're going to get really excited about it. It's going to make you invest more. I'm hoping that Zion and BI are really seeing that. And we're getting quotes. Again, like I never know what to do with the stuff Zion says, because I never know how prepackaged it is. He does the post-game quote, and right afterward, he's like, I was just, my thinking was, I just got to find that guy with the 1 and the 4 on his jersey and give him the ball and get out the way. And I'm like, All right. Sure. I like hearing it. I need to hear more of that. I just really want to get to a place where like I just can authentically react to stuff he says. It just all feels like prepared, and maybe it always will because of how he sounds. I don't know, but they're doing it. It's a 4-game sample, but it's 4 games against really, really good teams. Even that Minnesota game, I know a lot of people wanted to be disappointed in that game. I cannot be disappointed in that game when Zion doesn't play in it, when there's no CJ McCollum, when there's no Trey, and they put up that kind of fight. I know they had a lead. I know they survived the third, and then they lose it in the fourth. But they lost it to the number 1 defense in the NBA.
The Wolves are legitimately good. They're a good
Yeah,
team.
they're really good. They're really, really good. And the stuff they did, like, as much as we want to crap on the offense for failing late, you have to give their defense credit. It's the best defense in the NBA. Anthony Edwards is a monster. Sure, maybe he fouled BI 4 or 5 different times on his way to his 6th foul, but he did eventually foul out, but every one of those fouls was necessary. We had guys in trouble that were just trying to hang on, trying to survive. But it was a good game overall. You got beat by a team that put out a better effort, and stuff worked at the end for them. And you lost by 1 point, down all those guys, substituting guys in, you got everything you needed to be in that game, and you lost by 1 point. The most important thing that came out of that game was that the offense stayed. The same thing that I saw the 2 games prior with the fastball movement, the immediate throw-ins to JV when he had a mismatch, taking advantage of a slow Rudy Gobert getting under the rim so that JV can get an attempt. Like, they just looked for all that stuff. And you had really good passes. I think, was it last night? JV had a wild one to Herb where he did his little one-footed, like, I'm going to pretend to shoot the 3, but I'm never actually going to shoot it because you're too close to me. And then Herb dives, and Herb's like under the rim. There's nobody within 5 feet of him. JV's got a defender in his face, and JV just loops it under, throws a fastball, and Herb catches it under the rim. Easy put in, 2 points. And I think it was like the best pass I've ever seen JV throw.
And Ingram had a crazy one to JV too that he finished. It was just beautiful. It was like everyone, was playing their part basically. Ingram was even taking threes. To your point earlier,
Out of the bad boys.
I think Jose was definitely trying to tell us something after that game, specifically when he talked about we have a lot of talent and our role players will run through a brick wall for our stars. And he complimented Zion on BI each and talked about things he'd learned from both of them. Jose saying, hey, I've learned how to be just a competitive monster in the game from Zion. Like I see that from him in BI. Like he's really taught me about things to do off of the court and watching his preparation. My honest thought is I think Jose already knew all that stuff, and Jose is really smart. And is just saying that stuff to butter them up before he basically was like, we're going to go as far as these guys go, because I kind of read his comments as our role players got it. Like we have the complementary pieces to be a very good team, but I don't know if we have the stars to do it, that's just my personal reading of those comments. And I think he said it in a very nice way, and he complimented those guys first. But I do think that's the case. Like, I think this supporting cast is so good. And when they get healthy, it's going to be awesome. And I just think the big question is Zion and BI. I mean, think about if you gave Jokic or Giannis or Luka this 3 through 16 and think about how preposterous it would be.
It's ridiculous that you're going to bring, when Trey's back, we're talking about how big the lineup is with Zion in there. Swap out Dyson or Herb and throw Trey in there, and it's bigger. It's even bigger. It's preposterous how much of your primary rotation is huge. And the 2 guys that aren't huge, or 3 guys that aren't huge, that are probably in your top 10 players, one of them is probably the best, floor general, moving guys around on the floor guy in Jose. And you're going to need that sometimes when your secondary offense isn't really clicking or your stars are out. But the other 2 guys are real multi-level shooters and real devastating CJ McCollum will pick and roll you to death. And he will take absolutely everything. He will take your lunch. He will take everything you give him. He can play a perfect game of basketball, and Jordan Hawkins can just make it from anywhere. He is there was a stat this morning of he's got the most field goal attempts, or most field goal attempts by any rookie or whatever. And he's got like a 51% effective field goal percentage on it. And they the picture of all the rookies, and you're looking at Brandon Miller and Chet and Wemby. And the other thing to note is, like, of those guys, anybody else running sideways off of pin downs and like falling out the arena while they shoot a three and turning it into a 4-point play more than once as a rookie? No. Jordan Hawkins is the only one. So getting the most shots up, making a ton, making as many as the big time rookie shooters, and they're the wildest shot profile possible. They are the JJ Redick shots. They are the falling sideways. I'm going to get this off, and anytime my hands get to the right spot, this ball might go in.
Yeah, look, I love these role players. To me, this is like, how far can the two guys carry them? Can they be consistent on a day out and day in basis? And it is more so about the mentality than their on-court abilities. They're both very talented basketball players in different ways. It is about their mentality. With Zion, is he doing enough in terms of his off-court preparation? Is he dieting decently? Is he just taking it seriously when, during that time when he's not in between the lines? And then BI, is he going to fight through stuff? Is he just going to be a little bit tougher mentally? I think that's been a criticism from some guys who have played with him, in years past or whatever. Can we switch to maybe like a very non-serious subject and have a little bit of fun to wrap this show up?
Can I do a quick shout out first? Because we
Sure.
missed somebody and he deserves credit. Cody Zeller, your rebounding increase, your rebounding uptick in performance. Shout out to Cody Zeller and the Zeller minutes, because they have been far better than I thought. Like, turns out having survivable veteran big who just knows how to box out and is willing to throw his body on the line to get a ball really, really, really helps this team. So just wanted a quick shout out. I don't need to go into super depth. I just think he's doing an awesome job rebounding the last 3 games on both ends. He's creating more opportunities for it, even with tip balls, even though he almost killed JV's kid. JV seemed very, very unconcerned. He just kind of walked over. He's like, he brushed it off, move on. Like, it seemed like he was like, yeah, is he bleeding? No. Okay. I wanted to give a shout out because, like, he's going to be one of the guys we forget to talk about. And there has been a notable impact in his rebounding the last few games in the limited minutes. And it's guys I would expect him to be overmatched against, that he is really holding his own against, when other bigs on our team have really struggled with rebounding. So,
I mean, Cody Zeller just played rotation minutes in the finals. And I know Jokic won the matchup, but I mean, he's another guy. He knows how to play.
Yeah.
I
just
think
nice to have one of those.
Yeah, he's well liked in the Heat organization. I mean, he just understands how to play. All right, let me talk about the silly stuff now. I sent a tweet yesterday after shoot around that I did not know it would set Pelicans Twitter off to the degree that it did, but I sat back and was tickled by some of the responses to this tweet. The Pelicans hung up some banners in their practice facility on the wall, 3 separate banners. One of them said mindfulness, one of them said joy, and one of them said compassion. Had a lot of people in the mentions call them the NBA's live, laugh, love team. I had someone quote tweeted and say, "This isn't Brother Martin. Take this down right now." Just got a wide range of responses that really made me laugh. I guess I'll get your reaction, but I came up with 5 alternative things that the Pelicans should have hung on the wall instead, and I was hoping you could rate them for me.
Can I just? Everybody wanted to give this, for whatever reason, Twitter wanted to assign blame for this to Willie, and this screams David Griffin to me. This
I actually don't know.
Screams David Griffin to me.
I'm not going to use the phrase assign blame because I'm not assigning blame. I'm just saying,
well,
somebody did. I don't know.
Words.
I could see it being either one. Both have worked with Steve Kerr, Griffin Phoenix, and William Golden State, and like this seems like kind of like this is like the Kerr ethos a little bit.
I mean, it's fine to say it, but like the thing is the banners. Could be the 3 words that could be the 3 words, and that'd be great. It's a great mantra. All those things. It's the idea that you hung them up. Like Kobe's retirement and mindfulness. Like, you just don't hang it up. Don't put it in the air. Like, why? Like, and if you're
I
gonna
think
do
that's a
it,
good point. I think that's a good point. It's like it's totally cool to like say this stuff. It's kind of a different thing to hang these up on banners, I
yeah,
would say.
it's
And
a
I
little, it's a little like cat motivational poster hang in there. Like, it's got a little bit of that vibe. Those awful office posters. It's got a little bit of that going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, and I like a lot of the changes they made in the practice facility. Like they've got these big posters up in the corners of guys who were good, who played for the Hornets or Pelicans. It's a little bit like remembering our history, like Baron Davis, David West. Like I just like the reminder that yes, there were good players before you. I know this is not a storied franchise or anything, but there has been talent here. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I would say that the banners were probably a little bit of a miss for me. Do you want to hear my 5 suggestions? Some are serious, some are not very serious at all.
Bring them on.
All right, number 1. This is a very serious one. Permission to dominate.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much. Oh, why do you have to
uh,
bring me back to my past?
and it's like
Uh,
it's an exclamation. It's not a question. It's like, we're giving
what's
you
my
permission
rating?
to dominate. Everybody who's in this gym today, dominate. You've got our permission.
Dominating. Um, what is my rating scale here? Am I going 1 to 5, 1 to 10?
Yeah, 1 to 5, 1 to 5.
All right, and 5 being the best. I'll give. I mean, I'm going laughter scale here. I'm going like, does this entertain me? Permission to dominate. It's probably 5.
Man, I might have used my best one.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think you might have.
this is some low hanging fruit. Don't have to be very clever to come up with this. Reevaluated 2 weeks.
That's still a 4, just on the strength of the how much that sentence really resonates with our team. It's up there. It's up there.
It seems like they've changed some of the terminology in the press releases. They're now saying he'll be like examined again in 10 to 14 days. They're kind of switching up the language
Thank
to say
God.
10 to 14-day time frame instead of the 2-week time frame. So you got to mix it up sometimes.
You know how sad I am? This is, my irrational hatred for the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm reading their injury report yesterday because the Memphis Grizzlies are experiencing something that you would call Pelicanish.
They
They
are.
just they cannot buy a break. Jacob Gilliard is their starting point guard. They cannot get a guy back. Like, Xavier Tillman's been out for like 3 weeks, and they don't know when he's coming back. Xavier Tillman is week to week. Marcus Smart is going to be reevaluated in a couple of weeks. Like, it's not going great. They got the perennial champion Jake LaRavia has been questionable for every game he's ever played in. Like, it's a lot going on. But when I read that that Xavier Tillman was week to week, I was like, oh, the doom in that. Like, I'm reading into that, and I'm feeling every injury report I've ever read for us. We're like, reevaluate in 2 weeks, reevaluate day to day. Who the hell's week to week? I've never heard of that before. Reevaluated in 2 weeks, day to day. How the hell are you week to week? You might need 7 days to heal. You might need another 7 days to heal. Where did we come up with that one? That's where I'm at, though. That's where I was prepared to go. You could tell, like, these are my coping mechanisms. I was prepared to just feast on the eventual downfall of the Lakers fans' belief that Cam Reddish has turned a corner. I was
Mm.
really hawking in on that one. He had 3 good games. They're like, there he is. Cam Reddish is back. He's finally coming through. 7 points, 6 points, 2 steals, no rebounds, 4 turnovers. Like, it's not Cam Reddish is Cam Reddish. He's a solid defender. I can't say anything else about him. But I was prepared to just like feast on the sadness, like just grief eat on the Memphis Grizzlies and anything the Lakers do to mess up. Dylan Brooks by proxy over there in Houston. I don't know if you've taken a look at Houston's schedule and their wins lately. I know I got to get you back onto your segment here, but Houston hasn't won a game not in Houston. So, like, guys, teams, all NBA, when you go to Houston, just lock your guys in the hotel. Don't let them out. The Houston Rockets are not actually good. They can defend on their floor because your guys are going to the strip clubs. Please stop them.
Mm,
Everybody stop them. They have not won a game on the road yet. And I don't believe they're actually this good. I don't think they defend this well. I don't think Şengün can be this little of a defensive victim. It's just that your guys are getting destroyed by Houston nightlife, and you really need to stop it. Just padlock the doors.
okay. Short the Houston Rockets on the road, Adam
Yep.
says. Number 3, this is a serious one, and it's actually serious. It's not serious in the way that I presented permission to dominate. You got to fight.
Good one.
I think that
That's
actually would have
Willie's.
been cool.
That's Willie's do your job. That's Willie's do your job. I think that would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
That's a 5, and a 5 not in entertainment, but a 5 because it should have been what they did.
I think Jeremy, our guy Jeremy, quote tweeted me with the Sean Payton "Do Your Job" banner that was hanging in the Saints practice facility for a while. All right, number 4. This is kind of silly. This is multiple words on one banner, which kind of violates a rule here. Grind your bones to make my bread. Yeah, kind of the opposite of mindfulness and compassion, I would say.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna that's a 2. I'm gonna get that out of here. Get that trash out of here.
Okay, and then the last one I've got, we're kind of coming full circle here. Won't bow down. Do you remember when that was the Pelicans mantra?
Get out, get out, get out. We never liked it. Nobody in the fans ever liked it. We get why you did it. We immediately did bow down.
We have gone from won't bow down, which was we're not going to be subservient, and it also was, I think, like kind of a nod to LeBron James too, and David Griffin's like personal history with LeBron and AD strong arming his way to the Lakers. And here we are 4 years later, and we're at mindfulness and compassion and joy. And it's just it's a very different message. Not saying it's bad. It's just funny how it's changed.
Yeah, we did won't bow down, and then we immediately bowed down. We bowed down, we bent over, we pleaded for you to stop, and then you didn't, and you continued to beat on us. It sucks that the one that was the coolest was also kind of just tied to like what you had at the time. And it doesn't really make sense to do it now because it doesn't really work the same way.
I'm talking about
Do
you got
it
to fight.
big. No, do it
Oh,
big is the best one they ever did.
mm.
Do it big. Like I went out and put that on the back of some Nike ID shoes that I used to lift in the gym and stuff. Like do it big, the cash money, like big timers. Like there were so many through lines with do it big. That was the DeMarcus Cousins AD year. I wish that there was a reason to just keep that around, but we're not really doing it big anymore. We're doing it like above average size. We're doing it like medium. If we were ordering at a drive-through, we're getting it's medium everything. Everything is 6'8". I gotta say the one that I liked the most that I saw reply to you, and I liked the most mainly just out of shame, was stay healthy, win, stop eating Popeyes.
Drink your water too. I would add into that. After the Pelicans kicked the crap out of the Kings, somebody quote tweeted me and said, "The live, laugh, love Pels are 1-0. Stop with your mean messages." I really laughed at that, man. The live, laugh, love Pels are a buzzsaw. You do not want to run into the live, laugh Pels. They will turn you over and dunk on you, and Zion will snarl. The live, laugh Pels are ferocious.
Find us at your nearest Hobby Lobby, but not on Sundays.
All right, I gotta go cook some dinner. I gotta go write down in my gratitude journal in front of my live, laugh, love sign before I go to bed too. I gotta drink a little bit of water. I appreciate you huddling up with me, and I'm glad the Pelicans are pointed in the right direction now.
Grape courts forever. I'm actually gonna do something a little wild here. I'm gonna go hit the gym and get some shots up.
Oh my god, that's that clanging sound is Adam McCreary, firing that jumper, if
Hey,
that's what you hear.
hey, you'd be shocked. I'll send you a vid. It's already not terrible because I know what to do. But I'm just trying to get you. I'm trying to get in. For me, it's cardio. If I miss, that's great. I'm just going to go chase down my miss, and it's going to make me run. But just trying to get to a respectable level, and then I'll jump in some of these pickup games and see if I can survive. But I got to toss some lbs first because this cardio, since this kid was born, it doesn't exist. Does not exist.
I'm gonna get you an hour-long session with Fred Vincent for Christmas. On that note, guys, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.